Hello, 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 and welcome back to Knuckle Sandwich MMA. We have Nando in the house. I can point down that way now. And we have Kiersten Bush in the house. And she is here for our Athlete Series Part 2. We're super excited to have her back. We got so much valuable information from her on, and I'm going to give you just a brief recap, if I may. She came on and told us about the mental acuity that you have to have, the type of sparring, and how she got into wrestling in the first place, and just the kind of the journey that she herself has come with the wrestling and becoming such a great and premier athlete that she is. So with part two, we're going to be talking about the mechanics of wrestling. And so, Kiersten, without further ado, and our Nando, don't be afraid to jump in, ask any questions that you want as we're going along. But Kiersten, without any ado, let me ask you this really broad question, and that is, when you are getting ready for a match, what are the mechanics from the locker room all the way to the mat? Walk us through that of everything that you have to go through, and then we'll talk about how you score and win at matches and so forth. So take us from the locker room before a match to the mat.
Okay, so starting with weigh-ins most of the time, I don't know, I would have to weigh in by myself because I'm a girl. So I would just kind of like try to mentally prepare and try to get focused that way. And then after weigh-ins, we'd all like kind of sit as a team, have a little snack or something before we start warming up. So after that, we'd warm up, get some light drilling in and do a live match before we actually go out, just so we can get all our jitters out and can basically just have a real live match, and we could get all of our mistakes out of the way. And then when we actually do wrestle a match, then like obviously you're always going to make a mistake, but you could be pretty sound in what you do.
So on the warm-up part of it, are you doing mainly like stretching and stuff like that, or getting the cardio, getting the heart beating and the blood flowing, or what's going on in the warm-up section?
Mm-hmm. So warm-ups, you'll start with most of the time you'll start with a stretch, just doing all your stretching, getting just like your muscles like warmed up and ready to go. And then we go into like our light drilling where we're on our feet and we're just going through motions, and then we'll start going into like our shots, double legs, single legs, just start practicing those a little bit. And then we'll go down on the ground and like practice like the stuff from top and bottom. And then after that, when we're done and we feel comfortable with that, then we'll go into our live match and just start on after it, really. So the live match would be folk style and freestyle is different. So with folk style, you have 3 periods. They're like a minute and a half,
Okay.
minute and a half, 2 minutes each. So it's 6 minutes. And then with freestyle and Greco, it's 2 minutes each one still. But I don't know, it's different with different styles. I think with folk style, I had to focus a lot more because I just did not like folk style. It just wasn't my thing. But with freestyle, I felt more confident in that, in freestyle. So when you actually so after the warm up and you're getting ready to actually go on the mat, I always like to just like jump up and down, like kind of go through motions by myself. I'd be listening to music, just like Eminem, Metallica, something to just get your heartbeat really going and get you amped up a little bit. And then when they call your name, you just go out and wrestle and get going.
Okay, so I noticed. So when you're warming up and you're doing that stuff, you're are you in a different room, or are you in the main room where everybody is and the matches are going on?
You're in the main room. Typically, um, some high schools will have like a separate room if you're doing like duels or something like that, where you can kind of warm up in there. My high school didn't, so we just warmed up in the room, um, in the wrestling room where everybody was wrestling, which I actually prefer because like you're watching the wrestling and you're hearing the coaches, so you can listen to the other team's coaches and see what like kind of what their style was and what they
Yeah,
were
okay.
thinking in practice. So you could kind of prepare a little bit more for that. Um, Another thing that worked really well was before I actually went out on the mat, um, just like visualizing the match on like what you want to do and how it could go and all the different things that can happen, and just try to like mentally prepare yourself before you actually go out on the mat. So you have your heartbeat going while you're visualizing it. It gets your heartbeat going a little bit more, and that way when you're in the match and something does happen that you visualize, you're ready for it, and you know how to get out of the situation, or if you need a scramble or just anything like that.
Okay. So when you actually, so you're ready to go onto the mat for your match, okay? And uh, and you mentioned last time we talked that there was several matches going on during the tournament. There's a number of your teammates all wrestling the same day and that kind of a thing. When you're on the mat, what's the position called when your two are facing each other? Is there a name for that where you come up to the in the center?
When you're on your feet facing each other,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
um there's a specific name. I just always call it like on your feet. Basically you're in your stances in the center. Oh, I cannot remember the name of it now.
And then I
Yeah.
noticed also after the match is going, somebody is down on all fours and somebody is over their back. Why do they do that?
So that's called top bottom, or some people call it parterre. Um, so in folk style, the second and third periods, you're gonna have top bottom or neutral. That's what it is when you're on your feet, neutral.
Okay.
So you get the choice in those second periods if you want to go neutral, top, or bottom. So most of the time, if it's second period or even last period and you're kind of down, a lot of kids will choose bottom. So if you choose bottom, then you get an escape, or you can get a reversal. Or an escape is only 1 point, and then a reversal is 2 points. Um, so if
Okay.
you do, yeah, so if you do get an escape, which most people prefer to get an escape because you get the 1 point, and then if you get the takedown, so you take him down onto the mat, you get another 2 points. Um, Unless if it's a throw, then throws always vary in points, so it's not like 100%. Especially since I was wrestling, I think throws were, if it was feet to back, it was 4 points, but if it wasn't feet to back, it was only 2 points, like just like a regular takedown. Um, so it was just second
See,
and third matches. Definitely, I would try to choose bottom. I sucked at getting out, but I was good at getting an escape at least, and then I was really good on my feet, so I could almost always get a takedown, or even if they had my legs. I was kind of, my little brother trained me so hard to be good at scrambles, so we would scramble just all the time. So I was okay at scrambling. He's 10 times better at scrambling than ever was. He's just a little noodle, basically. He will get out of anything. So that was always great.
You mentioned scrambles, and Nando and I, mainly talk about the MMA. And one thing that I've noticed as far as the MMA fighters go, they're not. Some fighters are really good at scrambles, and some fighters are not. I don't want to say they're content on being on their back, but they maybe some are, but very few. But a lot of them don't know how to. I think they don't know how to get out of it. Their ground game. We call it the ground game in MMA, and they don't know how to get out of those once somebody's on top, got the top position on them. And I've noticed that people that can really scramble really well, man, you can take them down, but they pop right back up on their feet.
Yeah. Yeah. My little brother is definitely a scrambler, always has been. I think with scrambling, you definitely have to be very like nimble. Like you have to be very like not necessarily flexible, but just fast on your feet, fast thinking, just fast at definitely fast at everything. Just being able to think on the fly, like I said in the past podcast, just being able to think on the fly, which honestly, if you visualize your match before you go out, that fly thinking comes a little more naturally. I've noticed. So yeah, he was the king at scrambling. I don't know how he does it. He's not so little anymore, but he can do it.
He was little when I remember. He was a little guy.
Yeah, I'm gonna go see him for the first time in like 4 years on Christmas, and my sister is just telling me he's like probably at least a foot or two taller than I am. So I'm like, oh, great, shortest in the family.
That's pretty cool. So let me ask you this, because I don't understand I hear the terminology, but I don't understand it all the way. Can you tell me what chain wrestling is?
Yeah,
chain wrestling. It's just going from one move and like instantly going into another, just like basically like going with the flow. You just have to really go with the flow on whatever you're doing. So you're gonna double leg, and then you're taking them down to the mat, and then instantly you're like trying to chop an arm or trying to bulldoze them to get them flat, and then you're going in for a half or a chicken wing or a cradle or something. So it's just like chaining. It's basically just a bunch of moves that you're chaining together that you're flowing with perfectly. That's just chain wrestling.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like in wrestling, are the heavier weight classes more about power and the smaller weight classes are more about skill, or is it?
It depends on the wrestler. I have seen a lot of heavyweights, like Kyle Snyder, for example. He will go after, using his power and stuff, but he also has very sound technique. So he'll go after like the technique, but he's also a really big, strong dude. So he'll go his power and his strength will go really well into with his technique, which is great. I don't know if you guys have ever watched Kyle Snyder or Bo Nickel or any of them, but they are the top people. I always loved watching them. They always had very interesting matches, and just being able to watch them was a lot of fun. And then when it's different when you meet them like in person, they're just like so genuine and so nice as well. So it was crazy. But definitely with heavyweights wrestling, it depends on their style of wrestling. If they are good at like the chain wrestling and they have sound technique, a a lot of the time they will use like their strength and stuff to like just power through people. But I've seen most of the time, if they're really good at heavyweights, they'll use their strength and their technique together, and it just makes them really unstoppable.
So on when you're on the mat and you're having your match, is there do they go by rounds?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So rounds are periods, I guess. So you have like the first one where you in folk style you start out at neutral, and then second one they'll like have you flip like pick a number, or they'll flip a coin. You have to say heads or tails, or sometimes they'll have a coin that's red and blue, and so when they flip that, it'll tell them which one can choose first. So with second period, you could choose to defer. So you basically give up your choosing for that period or round to the next kid, to the other kid, and then he can choose either neutral, top, or bottom. And then third one, you can't choose, you can't defer because it's the last one. And then you either choose neutral, top, or bottom for that as well.
Well, that sounds pretty intense. And then, so I think the last time we talked, if you win your first match, how many, and I think you said, how many matches will you have to have in a day if you keep winning and you win all the way through?
It depends on how big the tournament is and how big your bracket is. Most of the time with nationals, you'll have to split your days up into two different days. So you'll probably do like a Friday, Saturday, or Saturday, Sunday type thing. But within one of those days, if you keep winning, you can have 7 or 8 matches, depending on how big your bracket is. And then the next day you could have like maybe 3 or 4, including that if you have like if you're in the championship match, that'll probably be included, or placing matches and whatnot. So it's definitely not fun, but it's a certain high that you get from it. I think, especially in when you're in bigger tournaments, you get more like amped up and more nervous. So you seem like you're a little more scared, but being scared, I feel like, is good. Being nervous about something is always good, because there's always like a good outcome when you are nervous. And it also makes you think a little faster and think on the fly a little bit more as well.
And how crucial are coaches actually during the match? Because I would assume that your teammates are also yelling, everybody's kind of yelling and cheering, or yelling instructions and stuff like that. But, as far as the coach goes, or coaches, I'm not sure how many coaches you have, how crucial are they when you're actually having a match?
It depends on how new you are and how much you trust yourself. So when I was littler, my coaches were really crucial, which most of the time you can only have 2 coaches in your corner. So most of the time I'll have my head coach, and then I would have my dad in my corner. So I'd have both of them screaming. Sometimes it was different things, because they're like, again, there's just so many like different things that you can do in a situation. So when I was littler, I depended on my coaches a lot more. But as I had gotten older in like junior high or so, I feel like I would just kind of block them out and start listening to the other coaches, the other teammates or the other opponent's coach, just to see like what I have to prepare for, what I have to like defend if they do listen. So it was a little bit different. And then if I did get in a situation where I was just stuck, I didn't know what to do, then I'd kind of, that's when I would start listening to my coaches, which sounds awful. Like I listen to my coaches, I promise, but always listen to my coaches. But most of the time, it definitely, as I got older, I didn't, even if they were yelling, it wasn't often that they were yelling. They just kind of, I know one of my coaches, he would just kind of like sit back and just watch. And then if he could tell that I was in a sticky situation or in a situation where I was just stuck, then that's when he would start yelling. Um, but yeah, teammates are, they will always scream and yell. Sometimes it's moves, sometimes it's just like, let's go, like get going, whatever. And then especially if you have siblings, they'll be there and they'll be the loudest ones in the room. So
You hear them. And
yeah.
so is with your teammates, because it's kind of I mean, it's an individual sport once you actually get on the mat. It's you against
Mhm.
the opponent, right?
Yeah.
But is the camaraderie between you and your teammates, are you guys really tight, or is it just when you're on the mat, they're cheering for you and you're cheering for them, that type of a thing? How does the team portion of that work?
Um Definitely a team. I always had backup from my teams, especially my high school team. They were one of my favorites. And then my team that I was on out in California, my SOMAR team, I'm still really close with some of the girls on that team. They were just absolutely phenomenal. My favorite team in the world. And then my high school team was probably my second favorite. But in high school, because those are the kids that I would always like hang out with and be with. Obviously, I couldn't be with the girls out in California as often, which was really sad for me. But yeah, we did everything together whenever we did. Like we do like little like nights where we'd all get together and just like watch movies at our house, or we just, if we didn't have a practice or something after school because we did it in the morning, we just hang out after school or something. It was a lot of fun. I Those boys were always there for me with whenever I needed them.
That's
I
awesome.
remember one time during lunch there was a group of girls or something from Ogden High that came, and they were gonna like try to jump me or something. I don't know what it was. And then I don't know, I walked away. I did the right thing. I walked away. Um and I like turned around, and like half my wrestling team that had lunch with me was just like standing there just waiting, like, we need to jump in, we'll jump in, we don't care if they're girls, we'll be there. Like
Jeez. Okay.
yeah, they just were always there. They were like my best friends, so
That's
it was
awesome,
good.
man. Awesome. All right. Do you have any other questions, Nando?
Yeah. Is there penalties or is there moves that are frowned upon? Because I was looking
Yeah.
up some wrestling on YouTube, and there's this gentleman that they say is like the dirtiest wrestler. Is there stuff that's like frowned upon?
Yeah, so there's something called a full half. So you go under both arms and put both your hands on their neck. Super dangerous. You could break their neck that way because you're putting so much pressure on them.
Hmm.
Um, so that is illegal. If you ever get caught doing that, it's 1 point. So the other kid will get a point. Um, Also, if you're doing chicken wings, you have to keep your arms straight across the back. You can't like pull it up like that because
Okay.
it'll
Yeah. Yeah.
dislocate their shoulder or really injure their shoulder. I've actually um my dad recorded a match one time where this kid had like capped my shoulder, like he had my shoulder capped. And so my shoulder popped out, but the ref didn't do anything. And the ref like saw it. He like knew what was happening. He just didn't call it. So um I don't know. I ended up winning the match though. I don't know how. I just got in like a blind rage basically. Like
I believe it.
It hurt so bad, but I was also so pissed that it happened. So I was just like, all right, this kid is like dead. I don't even care. Not gonna be nice anymore. So chicken wings and full halves definitely are um the most illegal, I feel like. But with the chicken wings, they'll just stop the match because sometimes like you don't know your arm is going up. Um, so they say, but sometimes your arm will just like slip up there and you don't notice. So they'll just stop the match and just kind of reset you on top bottom. Um, and then in Greco, it's a point every time you touch their legs. Like if you go for their legs, it's a point. Sorry, my cats are like making a mess out there or something. I don't know what they're doing. But Greco is definitely, you'll see a lot of people, especially in their first couple of years, doing Greco because it's so hard to switch from like folk style and freestyle where you're wanting to go for the legs and you want to attack the legs and you want to do all the stuff to the legs. So your mind will automatically think, oh, go for the legs. So it's really hard for Greco. I didn't like Greco. I liked throwing people, but I hated being thrown. It's not a fun experience. So sometimes it is. Some of the throws are really fun to get thrown, but while you're in the air, it's fun. But when you're about to hit the mat, when you do hit the mat, it's not very fun anymore. So
It was fun and then it wasn't.
yeah, it's all fun and games till somebody gets hurt, kids.
Yeah.
So it was, yeah, it was crazy. Greco, if you can do Greco and you're good at Greco, all my respect to you. I hate Greco with a passion. It's fun throwing people around, but when it's turned around on you, it's not very fun. Actually, one of the girls here from Utah, Sage Mortimer, she is phenomenal at Greco. Like probably the best Greco, like woman Greco person ever. I love watching her just throw kids across the mat, and you hardly ever seen her defending it and just knowing where to be in a match, especially in Greco. She's phenomenal at it.
Well, as we wrap this up, we are running out of time. I would like to ask you this, Kiersten. What would you say is your most crowning achievement for your wrestling career, and what meant the most to you?
So in wrestling, I would say probably winning Pan Americans in 2018. That was the biggest tournament I had ever gone to, and I did very well in. On the learning side of wrestling, I would say just being able to hold myself accountable for everything, because it's really only you at the end of the day. It's up to you to get stuff done. And I think that's a very big thing that I took from wrestling is just, okay, well, I lost the match and that's on me because I didn't work hard enough. I didn't, maybe I didn't put my all into it. It's really on you. I don't know, being able to have like the relationships with like other wrestlers like across the country, across the world, really. I have a couple friends in Japan when I went there that they're super cool. Couldn't understand what they were saying until they started texting me, but they're really cool people. And then Sweden girls, super sweet. Loved the Sweden team. And then some of the girls in Canada were really kind and got some friendships with them. We still like every now and again we'll hit each other up and like just see how everything's going. And most of them are still wrestling, and they're going to Simon Fraser, which is actually in Canada, and they're doing super well. I don't know, just like the friendships and being able to like connect with like your opponents, like being able to just like not only having to wrestle them, but being able to like know their life outside of wrestling and just really get to know them. And it's a lot of fun. I think that was always my favorite. It was just meeting new people and seeing new things with wrestling and just all that. It was cool.
All right. Well, let me ask you one final question, if I may. What advice would you give to young female athletes, just in general, not necessarily just wrestlers, but young female athletes? What piece of advice would you give them?
I'd probably say know your limits. Definitely know your limits and don't listen to the outside world. Don't listen to the people that are telling you no, just or listen to them. Sometimes it's like a fuel fire, like it just ramps you up and makes you want to just prove them wrong and whatnot. But don't be discouraged when you're going up against boys and you're not doing well. It's the difference between a woman's body and a man's body is completely different, and there's a reason for that. If you're being out muscled, out powered, focus on your technique. Just really just stick to yourself. Make sure that you're surrounding yourself with people that are good for you and are encouraging you and not like trying to get you out of stuff. I actually listened to a motivational speech a couple days ago that my dad had sent me. I think it was my dad. Or maybe I just saw it on Instagram or something, but the saying was, some people are like boosters on a rocket. They're not meant to go where you're going. They'll fall off, but those people that are really meant to go with you will stay with you, and you'll figure it out along the way. It may suck, but you'll figure it out, and at the end of the day, it's just what's best for you.
I really like that example.
Yeah.
Some people are like boosters; they fall off at a certain point.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's pretty cool. I like that. Can I use it?
Yeah, I can't remember like who said it. I saw it in I heard it in a motivational speech, but I thought it was a great
Awesome.
thing. So
I
yeah.
like it.
There's another one that I wanted to say. It's a song actually called Daydream. And in it she said, if it makes you nervous, then it's probably worth it. And I really think that is like true. Like if you're nervous, almost every single time there's a good positive outcome coming from it.
I love it. All right, Nando, take us home. You can close us out because we got about 2 minutes left.
We would like to thank you for coming. I mean, we learned a lot. I learned a lot more, and yeah, stay safe. Have a great Christmas.
Yeah,
Everybody, thank you for watching our show. See you next time.
Yep, and look for us for the upcoming. Oh, I forgot to mention, if I may, real quick, Nando. On the December 22nd, we will be having our another athlete series. It's called Krav Maga, and it is an Israeli fighting system that we're going to be interviewing some guys next week. So that's going to be a lot of fun too. Kiersten, on behalf of Nando and myself, we're so grateful for you sharing your experience with us and your time. And we need to bring you back on again because I think there's more that needs to be covered. All right, you guys. Have a wonderful one and a Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Bye.
Bye.